And welcome back to the Constitutionals podcast. I'm a little hot. This is the premier podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. I said it like gonna tell you stereotype. It's a website to go there. Welcome back in. I am still a little hot. Excuse me. I have to turn it down a little bit. Okay. Oh my goodness gracious! It's so interesting. I lay my head down and take a little nap while I put the Pokemon YouTube channel on TV, the Pokemon TV one, so I can watch old episodes of Pokemon. I was watching the live stream, and they were showing episodes from like the first season. I wanted to watch something from the later season, like 4. They've had like 20, but I want to watch something like season 4. It was the Kangaskhan Khan episode where there's a little boy. They're in the Safari Zone, and a dad loses the little boy from the helicopter, drops him at age 3. And they're like, he and the wife have been like, it's been 5 years since we've seen our child. The Safari Zone is not that big. Also, these people search for their child for 5 years in a helicopter, which means they're rich in the Pokemon world. Because not a lot of people have helicopters. I mean, 10-year-old kids are walking around the planet by themselves. But the Ash and his friends, Brock and Misty, along with a Safari Zone Officer Ginny. I guess she's not Officer Ginny if she's in the Safari Zone. But anyway, they saw David before that, prior to them knowing this information, or David, I don't know if that's the kid's name, or Joe. I think it's like Thomas. I don't know. And then he called himself Toto or Tom or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, they found the kid, and then the kid in the Kangaskhan saved them from Pokemon, I guess, and then he marches off, and then Officer Ginny or Safari Zone Ginny's like, oh yeah, he's here all the time. She has a picture of him, like, yeah, look, he's been here for years. We have his address and everything. They say that. It's wild. Oh my goodness gracious. And then anyway, so I sleep to that for like 20 minutes. I get up, and I am in the midst of recording. Well, a little bit before, I'm recording the intro to the interview that's coming out the same day as this episode of this show. The interview that is coming out on this feed immediately after this episode. I'm recording the intro to that, and I get a little email in the C Plus Comedy inbox talking about a story that we will cover as soon as I finish this sentence. And I just think, wow, imagine if I had recorded this about 4 or 5 hours ago, like I wanted to do. But I was out. I took Maverick over to Grant Park. We walked around for a little bit. I knew that we go to CHARM. We go to the Center for Hard to Recycle Materials. And he usually rides with me. Last week he could not because if you didn't listen to last week's episode, or if you recall from last week's episode, he hurt a muscle or pulled something or whatever, and in the back of my car, getting tangled up in the seat belts. And he also ripped his one harness, the one harness I have for him, so I have to buy a new one, and then. Not last week. It was 2 weeks ago, and he hurt himself. So we took it easy last week and walking and everything. He barely went out because he couldn't go upstairs, and then eventually over the course of the week he could, and now he goes up and down them as if nothing happened. And then I said, let's go to Grant Park. Let's have a nice time at Grant Park, because I used to go to this dog park, and people just stopped showing up. The regulars stopped showing up. So I said, well, he has to get out and do something. So that's what we did. Grant Park. I took a couple of pictures of him. He was excited. He used to not like walking. And he still is averse to it, but he'll be 3 in October, so he's been with me for 2.5 years. So he's getting used to it. It's taken a very long time. I'm not kidding. All he wants to do is play. I also I turned on I was just on YouTube this morning, as one is, and I was offered a dog video, so I clicked on it. It was about American Staffordshires, and then I watched what is Staffordshire and an American, and then I watched like different videos about those dogs because they all look like Maverick, and I refuse to get a test. I'm not spending money on a test. I can spend money on his food. And then so then I just went, oh, okay, well, look up videos about pit bulls. And then I saw this one from Vox talking about why Americans are so afraid of pit bulls. And I was on my phone. And unfortunately, the comment section cannot be blocked on your phone, where it can be blocked on on the computer. And boy, or, if you're not, they don't want you to, but whatever, I block it. And boy, howdy, are people so just hateful of pit bulls. It's just ridiculous. Whereas every single dog that has ever been aggressive to Maverick in the past 2.5 years has been a golden retriever, a lab, or a doodle. I'm not making that up. I'm not saying that for joke 'em ups, for laugh 'em downs. None of that. That's very true. He's met pits. He's met terriers. He's met big dogs, small dogs. He's met German shepherds. He's met Doberman Pinschers, and none of the I'm not even kidding. Even the smaller dogs have been like snapping at him, and then he's just like, let's just play, because all he wants to do is play. He doesn't have an angry bone in his body. He met a small animal in his apartment a couple of months ago, and they are best friends. I mean, she's a terror, but we'll get to that in the future. Okay, let's talk about this story that popped up in my inbox. This comes from the Wall Street Journal, written by Jessica Tunkel, who is a very reliable source. She's emailing me, Chad, I got a big friggin' deal for you. This story is not even an hour old. It's not even an hour old. That was updated an hour ago. Again, Wall Street Journal, Jessica Tunkel. Paramount Skydance prepares Ellison-backed bid for Warner Bros. Discovery. The Paramount Skydance deal is not even done. As they say, the ink is not even dry. But apparently, David Ellison, the Ellison family as a whole even, said that it is ready to offer a cash bid for Warner Bros. Discovery. Warner is about to split the company. David Zaslav, conservative leader, said that they're gonna break up the company into two divisions. One has the cable business, the cable TV business, the dying business. The other has streaming and studios. Imagine being given, two, it's like, hey, we're going to make chocolate chip cookies. I'm going to deal with the chocolate chips, and I'll give them to you when I'm ready, but you have to make the cookie part. And then we're going to serve the chocolate chip cookies to everybody. But you give them yours, the cookie, and I'll give them the chocolate. What are people going to want? The chocolate. Yes, you're going to be like, oh, I love the cookie, but that's not the point. And also, that's the only analogy I could come up with. That's huge. And in fact, at this point in time, there are reports of Warner Bros. Discovery stock booming because of this idea. Again, it's not even official, but sources say. In fact, the shares, as of reporting, for WBD have jumped nearly 37%. This is such a stupid, careless idea. For one, I mean, obviously, this administration does not give a crap about monopolies, but this will make the greatest monopoly in all of studio history, which right now I would say is Disney Fox. Paramount Skydance shares rose nearly 6% on the news. Are they already trading as Paramount Skydance? Oh Jesus, they are trading at Paramount Skydance. That's stupid. I don't like that. But the trick is, Ellison, the Ellison family. I'm going to refer this back to David Ellison, who is the son of billionaire Larry Ellison, conservative man Larry Ellison. I don't know where David lies. I know the sister Meg Ellison is a queer person. She's a lesbian. She's probably on the right side of things. I know one thing, that the only idea, out of all of this, David or the Ellison family wants it to be for Warner Bros. As a whole and not just, the studio side or the cable TV side, which makes sense. Anyway, as Jessica writes, by preparing a play for the company before Warner's planned split, Paramount Skydance is attempting to preempt a potential bidding war for the studio and streaming unit that could include deep-pocketed technology companies like Amazon.com and Apple. Amazon, if you'll recall, already runs MGM. And to that extent, I think MGM Plus. But they own MGM, they own James Bond. Because they bought them from the Broccoli family. Apple has recently said that it is going to scale back on television and movies because they're losing a lot of money. Even still, there's a announcement that Foundation, a very dense science show based on a book, was renewed for season 4, and season 3 is about to end, which is astounding. I'll tell you this. I watched the pilot for that show, and I do plan on watching that show. I watched the first episode for that show twice within like 2 days, and I did not understand anything because it was so heavy. I plan on watching it. I do not like this deal. I think if David Zaslav were really into, first of all, we wouldn't be in this situation. We wouldn't have been in this situation for, if AT&T sold it to a better buyer, if AT&T never entered the television business, and if Zaslav knew what he was doing when he bought studios and networks that produce majority scripted fare. As opposed to, I'm a reality network guy, and I'm going to buy this company because I can, and then I'm going to strip everything from what could be the second greatest streaming platform in the world, and then years later, as in this week, I think as of yesterday, say, HBO Max could be, we could charge a lot more for it. We probably should. You're already charging $20 some odd for it. And there's nothing there. I know, because I'm there almost every day looking for stuff to watch. Everything on my queue, which is like 15 things deep, that's it. And some of it's stuff I've already seen. Sopranos. Any DC cartoon movies I don't own. Can't even watch what's his name? Static Shock Batman cartoon, the Superman cartoon. I had to buy the Justice League cartoon because that goes in and out on Netflix or whatever. It's ridiculous. Again, this could bring antitrust and regulatory scrutiny, but it doesn't matter in this day and age. This isn't a good idea. Again, it's this is I we're gonna in a couple of months. I would be surprised if by November or December we didn't hear about the massive layoffs that will be happening at Paramount. There will be so many layoffs because of redundancies and there are already layoffs at Paramount over the past 2 years in order to make themselves look good and small enough to sell to whatever potential bidders there were. We have no more news on this, and again, I disagree with what should happen, but in this day and age. All right, let's move on. This comes from the New York Times. Family subscriptions. I'm going to tell you right now, New York Times, you have my money. You took it out of my account today. We're good. Benjamin Mullen and Michael M. Grinbaum. Has his name always been Michael M. Grinbaum? I thought it was just Michael Grinbaum. Right. CBS taps conservative, speaking of CBS, taps conservative policy veteran for new ombudsman role. Okay. When I saw this headline, I had to Google the word ombudsman. And apparently, it's something that is used quite all the time. The official definition is an official appointed to investigate individuals' complaints against maladministration, especially that of public authorities. His role, this new person's role, you know it was his, and you know it's going to be a white guy. Kenneth R. Weinstein, who is the conservative policy veteran, is going to review complaints about CBS News. He was the head, if you want to hear his resume, part of it was he was the head of the right-leaning Hudson Institute, which was a think tank, and he has no experience looking over news coverage. He's going to report to Jeff Shell, the new president of CBS's parent company, Paramount, which obviously we know merged with Skydance. Including an ombudsman at CBS News was one of Skydance's commitments to the Trump administration this year when the company sought approval for its merger with Paramount. Essentially, what this guy is going to do, Weinstein? Kenneth Weinstein. Essentially, what his role is when people complain about, I don't know, 60 Minutes putting out an interview with presidential candidate Kamala Harris for it being not including a clip of her rambling on in an answer that's about, current president Donald Trump. When people write in complaints about that and they say, and they're, stupid people, they're like, oh, you're making her look good and you edited this and it makes her look good. Then that is, his job will be to look over and say if that is right or wrong. And based on his track record of also not knowing news, but based on his track record of his resume, it won't matter. It won't. I mean that will matter. He'll say like that's bad. In fact, as recently as this week, I believe Face the Nation is changing, which is a CBS Sunday show. It is changing the way that it is handling interviews because people didn't like, and by people, people I'm talking about, people didn't like the way Kristi Noem's interview was handled last week. Political interviews after pressure from the Trump administration. Again, Weinstein has had a long career in right-leaning and neo-conservative public policy circles. He's a firm and vocal champion of Israel and a frequent critic of the Biden administration, once comparing the Biden White House to the bumbling characters of a television show, Veep. Really? The Biden White House is Veep. Really? Really? Okay. He donated $40,000 to Republican and pro-Trump political groups last year. Let's see. Served on federal advisory boards under both Democratic and Republican presidents. In 2020, Mr. Trump nominated him to serve as ambassador to Japan. What the fuck does he have to do with Japan? Oh my God. I don't understand what these people are doing with their lives, but I don't want to. This is not a political show, but I think we got to understand. You know, it's interesting. I saw yesterday. I talked about it with Ben Katzner, who I spoke to in an interview after that premieres out this episode. I saw yesterday Hamilton in theaters. I've seen the stage play touring, and I've seen the movie on Disney Plus. And I thought, I'm going to support this movie that was supposed to be in theaters in 2021, but released in 2020 when we're all at home, and never came out on Blu-ray. And if you don't think I spent roughly 10 minutes yesterday going around the internet going, Hamilton Blu-ray. Okay, when is Hamilton coming to Blu-ray? Okay, what's going on? Then you must be crazy. I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt, and this is a bad idea. My watch says it's 84 degrees. I wanted to go to the pool at some point. So I saw Hamilton yesterday, and it really, it's so funny. People for the past, it's been out this is celebrating the 10 years it's been out, and people are always like, it's kind of like our times or whatever, and I just think, yeah, it kind of is. And then as I was watching yesterday, as I was sitting there for 3 hours, I just thought, yep, it is. It's hard to leave the news at home. Also, during that entire time, so the movie is to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Broadway play, this is a filmed version of from 20. Excuse me, it's been 10 years. It came out in 2015, I think. Yeah. Anyway, this is a film version from 2016, from two shows in July 2016, I think. It has new interviews at the top, which are a total of like 5 or 6 minutes. And if you're a fan of Hamilton, you know what those interviews are about. It's just talking about Hamilton and everything. And they're current interviews, and everybody looks great. So that has that, and then it's broken up into acts, obviously, as a play is broken up into acts, and there's an intermission within the movie itself for 10 minutes. For the entire first act, which is about an hour and 15 minutes or so, I don't know the exact timing on it, and throughout the intermission, and throughout the trailers, which, yes, I was early to this movie. Many of you know, I hate to arrive on time. I want to get there after the trailer's in, and I want to hear Nicole Kidman talking. That's what I saw. This is a little dalliance. I saw The Conjuring: Last Rites. Let It Die. I love that. I love that franchise. This last movie was fantastic, and I was so happy to sit there for 2.5 hours watching this horror movie and get scared and jump and everything. There has been reports, because this movie's done so well, The Conjuring: Last Rites, that there's going to be a TV show. And we'll talk about Conjuring in a second. But let it die. Let it die. This is a perfect ending. Anyway, moving on. For the entirety of this, let's say 80 minutes, 80 to 85 minutes, that included the first act, the trailers, the interviews, all that stuff. These older women would not, and I say this with the least amount of respect in the world, shut the fuck up. It's so ridiculous. They were talking the entire time, barely whispering. And it was crazy. It was me, 3 older women who were sitting in the handicap section. The only reason I mention that is because there's nothing mentally or physically wrong with them, except for one of them was walking with a cane. Anyway, and they're bigger people. Anyway, so I can make fun of them. Also, I can make fun of them if I wanted to. Just don't want people shaming me. It was those women and then a woman with a child, a kid, which fine, and maybe some other people littered throughout. But I was the only one sitting up front. As we know, I love to sit up front. I want to sit on the aisle seat. And these women would not shut up. And they ruined like so many emotional points for the entirety of this show. They spoke through the entire of it. Let me point out the exact songs. That Would Be Enough is such a heavy song. To talk during That Would Be Enough. They talked during Dear Theodosia. They talked during The Room Where It Happens. Just like there's a difference between reacting and enjoying and then just being an outright dick. I understand, because I remember very specifically how I ruined a couple of Harry Potter movies when I was in high school for people who were fans. Full theaters I ruined it for. And I feel bad about it. But you are in your 70s. Shut up and watch it. So during the intermission, they're like, "Oh, there's 10 minutes. We don't have enough time to go to the bathroom." Just screaming that. And then doing what they consider running out. "You better hurry." Taking turns. And then one thought she wasn't going to make it back in time. She's like, "Oh no, I don't have enough time." She makes it back and she goes, "Do you see I made it back in time?" And then one of her friends is like, "What? Do you see I made it back in time?" I can't hear. "Do you see I made it back in time?" "Yes, I know. You made it back in time." I said, like, what? And then what I can only assume is the third friend. She went, "Okay, guys, now we have to be quiet." And there's like 3 minutes left in the intermission. But I'm like, maybe they finally got it. Because the entire first act, when they were talking and there were quiet moments, I kept going, when they were talking. Oh my goodness. It was excruciating for me. Then the second act started and they talked a little bit. They were gabbing a little bit. I called them old biddies on my Strava, and I don't regret it. But finally, through the second act, it's like they got it. They were clapping at some songs, which I thought was fun. That's fun. But the idea that you are talking at noon during a movie where a lot of people are just like, this is the only time we get to come to the movies. We're saving some dollars. I'm in the middle of One Last Time, and I'm emotional. Eyes are watering up. I'm thinking back to that video with Lin-Manuel Miranda and Chris Jackson singing that song to Obama as he's about to leave the White House, and I'm just like, oh, this is a good song. Look at him. It just takes me right out of it. I wanted to see Hamilton, and I had to make a decision. So I saw Conjuring on Tuesday, and that was at 12:30 or 12:45. And then I'll tell you, biking back, and I have to hit the belt line, which I think is great. It's safe, but I have to hit the belt line to I don't have to, but I hit the belt line, and all these kids getting out of school is ridiculous. And then I had to make a decision on Wednesday whether I was going to see Hamilton or Caught Stealing. Support Aronofsky's movie or support this other play turn movie. Also, I feel as though we got In the Heights 20 years later. I feel as though a Hamilton movie it's always going to be prescient, but I feel as though it would come a little too late. So I don't know. I can't see in 10 years because again, In the Heights came out in the early 2000s, and then we got one in 2021. I can't see this Hamilton being a movie in the next 10 years. And if it is, it will probably have an entirely new cast. And you know they'll do the thing where oh, Chris Jackson's popped up. Oh, there's Renee Elise Goldsberry. Oh, there's Philippa Sue. Jasmine Cephas Jones is still playing Peggy. But I don't know. I can't see this becoming a movie. But hey, Les Mis is a movie. Les Mis is both a regular talkie movie with Liam Neeson from the 90s. I believe that's true. And then there's also the great, I love that musical with Russell Crowe. With Russell Crowe as if he's the star. I love that movie with Russell Crowe. People don't like his singing. Hey, I'll say this. Russell Crowe's doing it. How many other people don't want to look foolish? Anyway, this guy's Kenneth Weinstein is the ombudsman. Hey, speaking of conservative people, this comes from the New York Times, both of these stories. This first one, Inside the Deal, Ending the Murdoch Succession Fight, written by Jim Ruttenberg and Jonathan Mahler, is discussing this big succession battle, both little s succession and capital S succession, as in the the HBO show Succession, talking about how, or covering Rupert Murdoch's decision on Fox Corp, which is the parent company that used to be a parent company to all the 20th Century Fox stuff that was shipped off to Disney, to those liberals at Disney. And now this conservative news outlet, which includes Fox News and the New York Post and the Wall Street Journal, the question was, where was all of this, and Fox Broadcasting and Fox Sports, where was all of this going to go? Fox Broadcasting is the network stuff like that runs football and The Simpsons and NASCAR and all that stuff, and animation domination. Lachlan Murdoch, one of his children, has completed an agreement to secure control of the family's sprawling media empire for decades to come. This was announced on Monday. It's going to stay in conservative hands. I don't know if that was if the concern was that somebody else would come, or the children would take there's multiple children, but the children would take their split of the company and like run different arms, or if it was going to be sold off to somebody who's going to make it a little bit more partisan. Who knows? But we're ending it here with Lachlan Murdoch, and he's going to be in charge. His father's like, "You take the company, son." Fox Corp is valued at $3.3 billion. The deal. The deal comes months after Rupert and Lachlan's audacious bid to unilaterally change the terms of the Murdoch family's irrevocable trust and disenfranchise Lachlan's oldest siblings, Prue, Liz, and James. The bid initially failed in court, but ultimately brought the two sides to the negotiating table. Those kids are going to get $1 billion each. I think, roughly $1.1 billion each, which is crazy. And then I thought to myself, as I'm reading these stories, they could go off and start their own news corporations, or do whatever media things that they want to do. But man, that's a crazy amount of money to walk away with that they are technically entitled to. This is what Rupert wanted. He's 94 years old, and eventually he'll die. I can't believe he's still alive and kicking. He wanted to preserve what he has called the, quote, protector of the conservative voice in the English-speaking world. As I said, the three oldest siblings will get $1.1 billion for their shares, of the empire. Those shares are currently held in the existing family trust, and then that's going to be dissolved. This amounts to roughly 80% of the value of their stock at the close of trading last Friday. Lachlan's 54 years old. As part of the agreement, these The litigation will end, and a new Murdoch family trust will be created that will include Lachlan and his two younger sisters, Grace and Chloe. That trust will hold the controlling stake in the two main Murdoch media empires, Fox Corporation and News Corp. Oh, I thought they were the same. Interesting. There's lots of loans, holding companies, stock sales. Now, this next part, this comes from the New York Times again, as I previously mentioned, written by Emmett Linder. The Murdoch family fight is over, so what does Lachlan control? As I mentioned before, I'm sorry, it wasn't 20th century, it was 21st century Fox. That stuff was sold off to Disney in 2019 for $71.3 billion. He controls Fox Corporation, which is Fox News Media, Fox Entertainment, Fox Sports, contracts with local affiliate stations, and Tubi. It's pretty cool. It's got Tubi. How many streaming services do you have? We've got Fox Nation. We've got Fox One. I think that's what it's called. And we've got Tubi. Tubi's doing really well. So I know I'm making the joke now, but total revenues for the fiscal year that ended June 30th topped $16 billion for that company, with a net income was $2.29 billion. Fox Sports is really big for them, besides Fox News, which obviously is doing gangbusters, which is crazy. Well, racists love news too. Fox Sports, they broadcast the Super Bowl. They streamed it on Tubi. Super Bowl 59 was the most watched of all time, and it had 127.7 million viewers. They also they have the rights to FIFA Men's World Cup beginning next June, which is the last game is often the most watched sporting event in the world. Fox Corp still owns Tubi. Tubi has 100 million active monthly viewers. They just launched Fox One. They acquired Caliente TV, a sports streaming service in Mexico. News Corp consists of Wall Street Journal and the Dow Jones publications, HarperCollins, the New York Post, Realtor.com, the Times, the Sunday Times, and the Sun in Britain, and the Australian and other newspapers in Australia. In total, the fiscal year ended for them on June 30th, and they have they're worth $8.5 billion. The net income was $648 million. So Lachlan has a lot under his belt. They're not wanting for anything. If anything, it's probably going to be expansion, and we'll see, Lachlan partner himself with people and kind of bring Fox to a more secure area in the current news landscape. I don't know what that's going to look like, but we are seeing rebrandings of MSNBC and to Miss Now. And we're seeing CNN and Fox and MSNBC get into streaming. I don't know if MSNBC is streaming. But yeah, that's what the new Fox is. All right, now speaking of the James Wan and The Conjuring, this is very interesting, and it comes from Puck News. So go to my URL breaker. James Wan's Conjuring future looks dead, and it's written by Matthew Baloney. Baloney. Now, Baloney writes that The Conjuring Last Rites did amazingly. Worldwide, last weekend, it made $194 million. On Tuesday, I believe that was up to 226 by the time I saw it. That's a couple of days. James Wan made a cameo in the movie, which As soon as I got home and I went on Wikipedia and I was looking over the cast of the movie, I went, "What's he in the movie?" Also, there's cameos at the very end, so it's not ruining anything. But at the very end, there's cameos from characters from all over the franchise. Not the Nun. The Nun takes place. Both the Nun and the Nun 2 take place in like the 1800s. But it would have been funny if like we just saw like dead characters from the Nun standing in the corner like, and they had like the cameos had like they were very obvious. It was stuff that, you know, like a Disney superhero movie does. It was so funny because I went, that person's from The Conjuring. That person's from the Devil Made Me Do It. That person's from Annabelle. It was like, why are they doing this? They're all like clapping. It was very much, what was it? What's Star Wars Episode 6? What is that one? The Last Hope? I don't know what that one is, but it's very much at the end, you know, they're giving out the medals at the ceremony and you see the Force ghosts, or I think that's what they call them now. You see like, it's like Yoda is like, and everybody else who died. Look, I don't know Star Wars very much. I've seen a lot of the movies. I've not seen all of them. I will say the TV shows are fantastic. I've seen a lot of The Mandalorian. I've seen all of the Clone Wars, mostly because it's a cartoon, and I love cartoons. Anyway, James Wan wants out of the Conjuring movies, which has 8 movies in the universe, including the 4 Conjuring movies, the 3 Annabelle movies, and the kind of related Curse of La Llorona, which people don't, not even like, what's Vudu, like a movie streaming service. They don't consider that part of the franchise. It is. A character from The Conjuring pops up in La Llorona. Did I fall asleep during that movie? I did. That does not happen often, but it does when I'm at home. James Wan wants to be paid more for producing the movie. CAA's Brian Lord, who represents Wan, and is a part of the Atomic Monster, which is James Wan's production house, which was bought by Blumhouse last year. Brian Lord has gone to Warner Brothers to talk about Wan getting more money for the movies. Wan initially wanted 50% of future movies, then lowered the ask to 25% for initial follow-up film and 50% after that. Warner doesn't want to pay him that money. Wan is threatening to walk away. Again, these Conjuring movies, even though I would say it's a slow burn, it was a slow burn at first, they did eventually, it's a big franchise for Warner Brothers. And for it to not really be based, it is, yes, real life is IP, but for it to not be based on something like a comic book or TV shows or whatever, there's a reason why they can come back with more stories, because, you know, these people have so many stories from the jobs. They're dead now, but these people have so many stories from the jobs that they did. Patrick and Vera's characters, I'm genuinely blanking on their names. Atomic Monsters, Michael Clear has taken a big role on set along with Natalia Safran, wife and partner of Peter Safran, the producer who originally brought the property to Warner's and is now a business-focused executive at the company, co-running DC with the overhyped James Gunn. That's not what is written here. I just had to say that. But multiple non-WB sources say that Wan is still instrumental in the creative direction of the franchise and still appears on set and makes key contributions to the mythology and scare sequences that have made the movie so popular. If you don't know who James Wan is, he is an excellent director who created, I believe, the Insidious franchise. He also started the Saw franchise. So he's deep into horror. He did Furious 7. He did a lot of the Jesus. He did it pretty much. He's a part of every Insidious and Saw movie, which I as of this year have seen every Saw movie. I'm excited for the next one. They were bad early on. The later ones, I would say, aren't very good. But if you watch them all, this is the problem with watching things in succession and just like and the binge idea of watching everything. You just don't see the cracks. I'll say this: the story is decent. I enjoyed it. I enjoy that story. Seeing how Jigsaw has his little hands and everything over the course of like 20 years, it's crazy. And even before that, there's some prequels in there. I think there's one prequel. And a spinoff. I don't know. I don't remember. But this guy, he's a part of a lot of IP. And I would believe, yes, he knows exactly. He's the EP of MacGyver? The MacGyver reboot? God bless. But he knows what he's talking about. So why would you not want to stick with this guy who's good at doing action and doing horror? I don't know. Richard Brenner, the New Line executive who has been riding high on the recent success of Final Destination Bloodlines, which is fantastic, as well as Conjuring Last Rites, sees no need to pay more for Wan's involvement. To continue receiving his producing credit, Wan is required to perform some basic services, and if he doesn't, he'll be in breach of contract. If that happens, Wan and Atomic Monster could be kicked off the franchise entirely, allowing Warner's and Safran to go it alone. But would the movie suffer, and would the Conjuring fans revolt if its creative maestro is no longer involved? That's a gamble at Warner's has his side if it wants to make. I think that would be kind of a silly thing to do. He was in the wedding part. I'm not ruining anything. There's a wedding at the end of the movie. Annabelle's there. Annabelle's in the background going, I'm the demon. Annabelle's in every Conjuring movie, except for The Nun. And The Nun 2, which again, Nun 2. Oh my goodness. It's so fantastic. I can't explain. It's just so good. Anyway, I'm surprised that this would even be a consideration to remove someone who, obviously, this is something that has been going on in the entertainment industry for as long as the entertainment industry has been a thing. They will take the person who created the thing off the project if they don't do what other people want them to do. But I will say that keeping James Wan on to help build the world, because you have to have a cohesive, when you have movies that come in with roughly this much lore, you have to, be thoughtful to the fans and be thoughtful to the history of the thing and really just make sure that you have everything up to date. Because if you don't have all that, and he is a producer on The Curse of La Llorona, if you don't have all of that, then you get a movie like The Curse of La Llorona, which is not good and not enjoyable, which would make you end the Conjuring franchise and then reboot it at some point in the future. And then you're stuck, doing God knows what with that. I'm seeing what the writers of The Curse of La Llorona have done before. Not much and not much after. Interesting. Well, which is not, to say that they deserve it or anything, but that explains a lot of things with that movie. Wish them the best. I really enjoyed Last Rites. I did have to pee at one point. And that's my fault. But I did have to pee. I'll say this. Mia Tomlinson did a really good job. I like her. But obviously, Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson were just wonderful as Ed and Lorraine. Oh my gosh. Anyway, that's it. That's all I have for you. Listen, if you like what you heard here, if you like what you have here, head to the website, cpluscomedy.com, where you can see me talk to famous people. After this episode uploads, you'll see another episode upload shortly after. An interview with Ben Katzner. Check it out. If you want to watch a video version of that interview as well as other interviews, go to youtube.com/cpluscomedy, where you can also watch a video version of this show as well as the other shows, Late Night Lately, the Late Night Show, and LinkedIn Logs, the Jobs podcast. Subscribe to those shows wherever you get your podcasts. I promise you, I upload somewhat consistently. If you want to follow us on social media, follow us on Blue Sky, Instagram, and TikTok at @CPlusComedy. Me on those platforms at Chad Black White. Thank you so much for listening. Go to the movies, baby. Bye.